Hey friend, welcome to my podcast, The Fit Soul. I'm your host, Amy Ramsey. In this podcast, we will be discussing soul-filled strategies to unleash your confidence, increase your energy, and all the things healthy lifestyle. If you're a Christian woman who is ready to reach your God-given potential, walk worthy of your calling with abundant joy and energy, girlfriend, you are in the right spot. I mean, you only have one life to live. You might as well maximize it. Buckle in, and thanks for listening. Hello, welcome back to the Fit Soul podcast, the YouTube, wherever you're consuming this content. I am so glad that you are here. And I am so excited today because I have a friend of mine, a very special friend of mine. And before we dive into all the things that you're going to love, courage, all the things, calling and queen qualified, and just wait, you're going to feel so warm and fuzzy, like you're like a spiritual warm and spiritual fuzzy after this, but you're going to feel activated too. So before I bring on my friend Antoinetta, I want to share with you just a little bit about her so you can know who she is and the honor that we have to have her on this show. So Antoinetta is a speaker and author, and she is the Courage Curator. She's on a mission to help individuals consistently cultivate courage to reach their God-given potential. Antoinetta believes that God calls for each of us to be strong and courageous towards our journey as we journey towards our highest potential, our God-given potential. Yes, yes, yes. Through her speaking, her books, her Courage Candid text, her desire is to help individuals all over the world consistently cultivate courage, choose faith over fear, and lead from a place of courage that inspires others to do the same. Now, I love this.
Thank you.
Antoinetta is also the Chief Encouragement Officer, the CEO of Courage Candy, a strategic consulting firm specializing in cultivating courage, collaboration, and catalyzing change agents to reach their highest potential and create lasting positive impacts. She resides in Durham, North Carolina with her husband, Thomas, and their dog, Remy. She leads a Queen Qualified Life group at church. She serves as president of the Durham Toastmasters. You go, girl. And she is a big mentor with Big Brother Sisters. So, wow, what? You're so accomplished, and I'm so honored to have you here. Thank you.
No, thank you so much. I am honored to be here with you and all of your listeners. So thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Antoinette and I connected. I was just in here thinking it was in the Destiny Collective, Marshawn Evans Daniels group. And I don't even remember how or when we connected, actually. Sometimes it's like we've just been connected, you know?
I know. Well, you're awesome, Amy. So I was like, I need to connect with Amy. Her energy, you're always praying for people, supporting people. So I think we connected and I started learning more about you. And it was your energy and like just your love for women. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think either one of us remember the exact moment, but we're both leaders in Marshawn's group. And I do remember this summer, I was supposed to have been on a very important call, and it was so odd. This was so weird. They didn't show up, and kind of stood it up. And it was for me to make an investment in a potential coaching thing, and they didn't show up. I don't know what happened on their end. And so I was sitting in front of my camera ready to go and frustrated, like, are you kidding? And it wasn't actually the first time, it was the second time. And it was a lofty, anyway, doesn't matter. But I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I just really felt like my time was wasted. I popped over and saw a text from Marshawn's group saying, hey, we're going live. And I popped on, and there she was leading Queen Qualified. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so good. I was so glad. I was like, okay, this is
I
awesome.
love that.
Got to hear you teach on Queen Qualified, and just your heart. We connected over our friend Gabby Buford, who is,
Yes.
you guys pray, 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 pray and pray and pray for her. So we connected over there, and Gabby and I were on Antoinetta's podcast.
Yes, which was such a special episode. We got to make sure that's in the show notes because
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
wow, like Gabby is just so powerful, and so you have to check that out. I know I want you to listen to this and check it out. But even if you don't listen to this, check out Gabby, right? That's how powerful just an episode it is. Yeah.
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 Yeah. And before we dive in, I think I want my listeners just to hear your heart too. So she became very attached to serving and praying, and Antoinetta was reaching out to me on the back end and saying, hey, can I send her a package? Can I do that? I'm like, sure, of course. And so it was so sweet. You sent her this package. It was so special. Antoinetta also had a very special t-shirt made just for her with her identity on the t-shirt with her name, and she wears it. She loves that shirt. It's so pretty on her too. So just your heart is precious and serving and loving and kind, and you're smart and articulate and all the things, and beautiful.
Thank
So
you.
we're talking today about courage, and what exactly is Courage Candy, and what does Courage Curator mean? Explain that to us, Antoinetta.
Yeah, it's funny because I've, been a CEO for 7 years, but really last year when I was finishing my book, around this time, God told me like, CEO means chief executive officer usually. And he told me like, no, you're the chief encouragement officer. And that is what your title is going to be from here on out. And it's like,
Love it.
right, we have names and things that maybe we call to or respond to that isn't really our God-given name. And so I feel like chief encouragement officer is like straight from God, that he's like,
Love it.
your job is to encourage others, uplift others, right? Tell others about me. And so Courage Curator is similar, where if I think of myself that way, it's how can I help others curate courage? And so that really is like a mission right now of like really just throughout my career, whether it was teaching preschool early on or working in culture or whatever it is, it's always been like how to get people to that highest potential. And God's really honed me in and focused me in this season that it is about courage. And so Courage Candy is like, how can we provide those bite-sized encouragement? Because often people are like, I just can't move, I can't do this. But if you take little steps daily, then you look up and go, I just did the most courageous thing I ever have. I'm walking in a season of that. I think a lot of us leaders, we often have to be courageous
Yes.
very often. And so how can we cultivate that? Because it's
Love it.
not an innate trait. The great
Mhm.
thing is we can cultivate it.
I love that. It's almost like if you think of it as, I like to think of it like as a skill set.
Yes. Yes.
Doing whatever it is, it's taking action when I don't feel prepared, I don't feel ready. And this is so good because, Antoinetta, I don't know about you, but a lot of the women that I coach and my own just breakthroughs only came because I took scared to death action. I
Yes.
have never been ready for one step that I took. Never,
No.
never. And there's this like fallacy of, well, you don't start because you're not ready. But the reality is it's in the doing, in the taking actions, we develop that muscle of courage, and we actually gain skill sets to become confident. So it's not that you need confidence to get going.
No.
No, that's going to come once you keep going and doing it. Once you fall a couple of times and you
Yes.
make a fool of yourself and you're not ready and it's not good
Yep.
enough. It's never good enough. You just got to go.
Gotta go. And that's why I say, right, courage for most of us is not going to be comfortable. And so we
Mm-mm.
have to like bust up that myth that like, oh, even I as the courage creator, oh, you must like this is easy for you now. No, it is not, right?
Uh-uh.
It is not comfortable to do overly courageous things. And
Yeah.
so it's really important to bust that myth, especially a lot of times for women, that like if you have fear inside or if you have worry or anxiety, that you can't still walk out in faith. And what does that really mean, right? Faith requires so much courage.
It really does. What would you say is what would you, if you have a tip or maybe even three, whatever, like kind of
Yeah.
whatever's in your heart for the woman who's listening to this, because a lot of women that listen to this are ambitious and they feel called to something, um, and they're go-getters. So
Yep.
what would you say to the woman who is feeling a stirring to do something? Maybe there's a dream inside of her heart and she feels restless and unsure of maybe steps to take or what to do, and maybe fear's taking over or self-doubt or some of the common things, but maybe she just doesn't even know what to do. What would you
Yeah.
encourage her to do?
Yeah. Like the first thing I would encourage is acknowledging that courage is a choice.
Mm,
And so, so many times we feel like, I don't know what to do next, right? I feel this stirring, there's something's happening, but I can't move, or I'm stuck, or I need XYZ before. And so, I first recommend that people acknowledge that courage is a choice that can be cultivated. And so once, right, that,
yeah.
like you talked about earlier, that shows action, right? So to cultivate something or to grow something or to even, right, if you have a seed, you can't just plant that seed in the ground. We have to water it. And so if you can acknowledge that courage is a choice that has to be cultivated, that helps you to begin to start taking the actions. Whether we were talking before, me and Amy, right? Whether it's getting a coach like Amy, right? So sometimes you realize once you start thinking about courage, oh, wait, I may not have certain skills or I
Right.
may need to increase this. But first, it takes acknowledging, wait, this is a choice and I can do something about this.
Yeah. Oh, that is so good. Courage is a choice that requires cultivation. And I really like that on a lot of levels, because once you start to just recognize that mindset shift really, um, then
Yes.
it makes it easier to take the action. Do you have another maybe another tip or another suggestion for someone's like, okay, I got it. Courage is a choice. I've got to be courageous, but gosh, I still don't know what action to take. Do you have like some
Yep.
guidance for that person?
Yeah, so I'm a big frameworks person, I'm a big data person, and so something I created was the 7 attributes of courage. So just to
Love it.
take people through like what is courage? How do I get more courageous? And so I'll kind of quickly go through it. And so I believe courage has to start with care. And
Mhm.
so often people's like, is being courageous rude? Or like, so it's really important for me. Courage has to start with care for yourself and for others, right? We're called to love, we're called to care for others. Next is overcoming fears. And so we've kind of touched on this already, but you cannot be courageous without overcoming fears. Next is unapologetically being unapologetically authentic. And so God has called you, right, Amy, to do certain things. He's called me to do certain things. And everyone listening, He's called you to individual things. So, how can we be authentic, not compare,
That's
right?
right.
Not judge? How can we really lean into what does God call for me to do? And then repetition. So,
Yes.
we got to keep cultivating courage. We cannot stop cultivating courage. And then I believe advocacy. So I believe if you're being courageous, it shouldn't only be for you. right? Others should be benefiting from your courageous choices, whether it's your friends, your family, future generations,
Mm,
etc. And then grit. So recognizing that it's going to be gritty. You talked about Amy falling down and getting back up, and so I try to let people know, like, if you are courageous, you are gritty, right? Like, you don't just go, oh, I didn't get what I wanted and I'm done. Like, you're willing to fail. You're willing to keep seeking God. You're willing to keep fasting, keep praying, and
yeah.
believe in that. And so it really requires that grit. Um, I'm in a season right now where I'm like, God, you've promised this. And so I'm going to hold this to my heart,
Mm,
but I also know I got to do the works, right? So faith plus works, like I got to keep putting in the work. And then the last thing is just embracing courage. And so I believe courage can be this really scary thing, and so we have to fully embrace it. I believe the alternative to choosing courage is choosing complacency.
oh, mm,
And so I believe we got to really embrace courage. Yeah.
this is so good. So I don't know if you guys caught courage. Her 7 attributes of that. It was an acronym for the
Yeah.
word courage. So again, that was care for self and others, overcoming fears, unapologetic, authentic, repetitious. I want to hang out on that repetitious just a little bit, Antoinetta, because that is so key. That is doing it again, and that is not doing it so great. You know, I started making more progress in my business when I remember finally getting to, I think I heard it like on a podcast. It's like, you know what it was? I know exactly when it was. Do you remember when Reels came out on Instagram?
Yeah. And you're so good with it. I'm like, Amy, you're amazing. Honestly, on social media, I'm like, I'm the word, I am complacent on social media. And Amy, you are just amazing. I'm like, I look on and see your energy, and I'm like, yes, like, Amy, do it for me too, because you are awesome.
Well, thank you. But when Reels first came out, I remember all of my online entrepreneur friends were like, what is this? What is a reel? Like, what are we supposed to do? And then we're like, okay, we got to figure it out. And then it was, you just got to do it. You got to do it messy. You got to do it not ready. And I remember hearing, I think it was Jasmine Star, actually. I don't know if you listen to Jasmine Star, but she talked about just doing, you got to suck. You're going to suck at first. I mean, when you start doing something, whatever it is, it's going to suck, and none of us
Yes.
wants to. And a lot of times that perfectionistic mindset or all or nothing broken mindset kicks in, and we're like, I'm not going to do it because I'm not ready, I'm not good enough. And then we start, you know, I think it's a subconscious thing. I believe that there's a lot of subconscious, not even aware of comparison.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, did you okay, we're back. We're not even going to edit this because something so funny just happened. And I'm not even going to edit this out. Okay.
Right.
Antoinetta, we were talking about perfectionism, and we're both
Yep.
like, oh, yeah, 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 perfectionism. And all of a sudden, she was gone. I was like, where'd she
Gone.
gone?
Gone.
I
And I
texted her.
was
I
going
said,
to say, I call myself, again, because what we call ourselves is so important. I now call myself a recovering
mhm,
perfectionist,
mhm.
because I used to get so much anxiety. I told Amy, if this happened previously, I wouldn't have been able to come back on today, because I would have almost just had a panic attack that I messed everything up. But I was just calm, of like, all right, mistakes happen, things happen. And so as leaders, like, we not only have to give others grace, but it's often harder to give ourselves grace, that, like, whether it's technology or whatever it is, we're going to make mistakes. God did not call us to be perfect, to walk perfectly. And if you look at the best leaders and the people you admire, I hope, right, they are people that say, we're going to fall, we're going to
Yeah.
mess up. We have to have grace,
Mhm.
right, for ourselves and for
Yeah.
others. And that takes courage also to go, wow, I didn't want this to happen, but it did. And how can I not say I'm never doing a podcast again, right? Because my laptop, which it's not even my laptop because my laptop wasn't working, right? Like if I just take this moment and just let it take over me. And but that's what people do. They
Mhm.
make one mistake or get embarrassed or someone tells them they're not good enough and they go, I'm done with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing is that choosing courage is a choice and it's going to require that cultivation. And you've got to have grit. I love a couple of other points. So we were talking about repetition
Yep.
in your acronym for courage. I love advocacy. You have to advocate for yourself. You have to advocate for somebody else too. Oftentimes we'll do something for someone else, but I love the fact that basically you tie that to legacy. Like we're all leaving a legacy.
Yes.
And when we operate with kind of that idea in mind, it forms and fashions the way you operate on the day to day. What's most
Yes.
important to you, and staying
Yes.
connected to the things that are most important to you and to your vision and to the vision
Yeah.
that God's got for you on your life. It takes grit. It does. It just takes grit. And this isn't about entrepreneurship.
Right.
No,
Right.
yeah. I mean, the restlessness that you may feel inside your heart, inside your soul, inside your spirit is God calling you to something else and something bigger. Because as
Yes.
you evolve, as you grow, as you're moving through your life, you're gaining skill sets along the way. And
Yeah.
I was sharing with Antoinetta this morning, I led in our Destiny Collective. We're going through daily blessings right now. And in Marshawn's book, she has a 10 dimensions of abiding with God.
So
And
good.
the number 8 is so good. I highly, Marshawn was on my podcast and talked all about it. I was like, oh my gosh, so amazing. So, take to that calling is I think it was the 8th dimension of God. And she talks about your tags for your calling. Everyone's called. Walk worthy, Ephesians 4:1. Paul says, I urge you to walk worthy of your calling. And tags are your talents, abilities, gifts, and skills. And so as those increase, as you lean into what is the call of God on your life. So purpose, real quickly, this was so good.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's good.
I'm
It
going
is
to do a
good.
whole podcast on this because this is confusing. This gets muddy with people. Purpose is, I don't know about you, Antoinetta. I get clients like, oh my gosh, I need to know my purpose. And they're like freaking out. I don't know my purpose. Like, no,
Yep.
your purpose is going to shift and evolve your entire life.
For
In different
sure.
seasons of your life, it's going to look different. But your purpose is, how has God made you? This is more personality oriented. Your calling is about, where is God taking you,
Yes.
and it's including your gifts, your abilities, your skills, the significant way that He's made you. And your assignment is the specific calling for
Yeah.
that season and
Yeah.
that moment. So like Gabby Buford and her mom have been my divine assignment. We were talking about them earlier.
Yes.
I know that you've got some mentees
Yep.
that you do, and you've got divine
Yep.
assignments. I believe we all do. We just, but if you're not clear on how you're made, how the Father has fashioned you, Queen
Woo.
qualified. If you're not understanding and in an alignment with where is God taking you, saying yes to everybody, and you're never ever quite able to find enough time and capacity to get still, but you're still feeling restless, I'm going to say that you may be out of alignment with your assignment. You may
Yep.
be out of
Yep.
alignment with what God wants you to do because you're doing too many other things. They're good, but they're not God's best. They're good.
Woo.
They're not what you're
So
supposed to be
good.
doing. Is that the truth? Because that was what I was doing. I was so busy
Oh
doing
yeah, me
good.
too.
You too? Oh,
Yeah.
girl.
Right? I mean, give me a checkbox, I will check it off.
And
I will achieve, right? I will achieve. But again, like you said, if you don't slow down enough, how are you going to hear the Holy Spirit? How are you going to hear what God has next for you? How are you even going to be obedient if you are just checking off lists that, if we're honest, are usually lists that society gave you
That's
or
right.
your family gave you,
Yeah.
but not that God gave you, because God doesn't give us this long checklist.
Mm-mm.
He gives us manna for today, right? And he'll give us
Oh, yes.
vision for the
That was
future.
good.
Like, I'm like, manna for today, vision for the future, but God doesn't give us a bunch of things to check off. That's just not how it works.
That's a word that is hitting me really hard. I needed to hear that today. Thank you for delivering that truth. I have a feeling so many other women need to hear that. We're ambitious. We want to do the right thing. We're ready to rock and roll with it. And
Yep.
God's like, I want you with me. I want you unto me.
Yes.
And when you do that and you call out that time unto me, oh my gosh, what we can do together. But what you're doing on your own, you're doing a pretty darn good job, because I made you so well, that wonderfully. But you know
Yep.
what? I've got some dynamite power called the Holy Spirit. You match that inside of you, then watch what can
Yes.
happen. We can go move some mountains. And
Like
anyway,
stuff you never imagined. So I encourage people, like,
mm,
dig in, right? Like, dig in, find a community, right? I met
yes,
Amy through a community.
yeah,
It's so important, right? Something I say is courage is contagious. And
yes,
so, right, if you're isolated, it's really hard to be courageous.
it
If
is.
you're around dynamic people who are courageous, you're like, hold on, okay, I can do this. Like,
I'm gonna
I
do
got
that.
it, right? When you hear people saying their praise reports, like, this is what God told me and
That's
this
right.
is what happened, you get fired up. You
You
say,
do.
wait, I serve the same God. Hold on.
It builds your faith. Absolutely. Well, we both believe that you should be in community. I've got
Yes.
my communities, and Antoinetta, I know that you have a community where you send out messages, encouragement on the daily. Y'all, y'all got it, and it's free. I make people pay for mine. Yours is free. And I have to say, I mean, you know what? Just from an entrepreneurial point of view, I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
throw this out here. That is so much high value and so much work on her end and on her part. I know, because I do the same thing. But again,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a lot of work and it
It's
costs
a
a
lot
lot of
of work.
money.
Yeah.
It is a lot of work. So, Antoinetta, how can people get on your Courage Candy list? Is that what it's
Yeah.
called?
Yeah. Courage Candy. So send out daily encouragement messages. So you can text 919 647 7450. And then if you text Courage plus Sunday, I will also send you on Sundays faith fuel. And so whatever we talked about that week, I also share a scripture on Sunday. So you can text Courage or text Courage plus Sunday. And it's tough, but it is my gift to the world. I have my book back here, and I literally took, right, 6 months of those messages and then made some introductions. And so if you're like, I just want to read them all at the same time, you can get the book. But yeah, the texts are just my gift to you all. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, I want that phone number one more time. Tell me what it is.
Yeah. 919 647 7450.
I'm definitely going to get on your text list.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome. I'm going to text you. And so you guys just get your phone 919-647-7450 and text the word courage. I'm going to do Courage plus Sunday because I want the one on Sunday. And then also your book Courage Candy. Can we go over to Amazon and find that?
Yeah, you can go to Amazon. You can also go to couragecandy.co. And if you want to go straight to the shop, you can go /shop all, and it's cheaper than Amazon. So the price plus shipping, so a few dollars less. So you can do that. And if you order from us directly, I can write a message in there for you. So there's a little place where you can get it inscribed. So,
Oh,
yeah.
amazing. And so that was
Yep.
couragecandy.co.
Yeah, couragecandy.co. Yep.
Okay, so let's go. And that would be a great Christmas gift. That would be a
Yep.
great gift to buy. And then you're supporting a sister that has I mean, you guys, I mean, I'm not trying to, but bust my arm, patting ourselves on the back. But being out here in leadership on the online space, it is a lot of hard work. It is so much hard work, and putting the content out there and the podcast and we are both women on a mission. We both feel incredibly called to what we're doing.
Yes.
And
Yes.
So this is a wonderful way to support another sister who's putting the work in, y'all. She's doing the work, she's doing the thing, and it's all for God's glory. So I just love your heart.
Thank you.
I love what you've got. I love this, the Courage Curator. I love this Courage. So let me go over that acronym one more time. It's Courage is care, overcoming fears, unapologetic authenticity, repetition, baby. Keep going, keep
repetition.
Going. Advocate for yourself, advocate for somebody else, do it for someone else, do it for your children, do it for your grandchildren that aren't born, do it for the legacy that you're going to leave, do it to make your mark in your community, do it for your church, do it for the glory of God. Like, we can't state that enough. Ladies, I'm going to just say it, girl. I'm just going to
yeah.
We're too distracted. Get off social media so much. Like, just stop yourself. I'm speaking to myself as I'm saying this. We waste too much darn time. The average American, Antoinetta, do you know how much time the average American spends consuming either TV and or
social media? It's scary, right? It's scary.
6 hours a day. 6 hours a day, but we don't have time to learn new skill sets to do the things that we're supposed to do. We don't have time to invest in our health, which is our greatest wealth. We don't have time to get in God's word. No. We all have time. We make time for what's important. So that whole advocacy, be your own advocate, you got to kick your own butt and you got to get yourself in action. You do. Ain't nobody going to do it for you.
You got to fast, right, from it all. And like, God will cover. And so I think entrepreneurs feel like, I can't fast from social media. I can't take 5 hours or a minute off from my phone. You can, right? You can, and God's going to bless you even more because you've been close and hearing. And I just want to say something. I believe it was from Marshawn, and I reread it recently. She said, right, we want to ask, believe, receive, but we're getting it wrong. We need to believe.
That's right. Yeah.
Ask, receive. And so that belief is action. That means you are starting something, you are doing something. It's real easy to ask, right? Like you said, while we're watching TV, whatever, it's real easy to say, God, what's happening? But to believe first, to go, I am going to have a better life. Next year, next month is going to be better. I'm going to walk in my calling. So that's amazing. Amy, just that distraction. And you can't be distracted and courageous.
No, you can't. You can't. You can't. My
southern just came out. Sorry about that. Let me tuck it back in. So when my country comes out, I'm like, I'm real excited.
You really can't. And for all of us, the problem with the distractions, and we're talking about advocating, and now we're moving into grit. We're going through her framework here. The problem is that it takes grit and determination to break those patterns and those bad habits and those bad cycles, because it is meant to be, the things that we're doing are oftentimes not just ingrained in us as a bad habit, but they're meant to be an addiction. So we're literally dealing with addiction, not even just a bad habit and I don't want to. Like, you are fighting up, but you got to have grit. You got to have determination. And this is where Antoinetta and I would absolutely both agree that grab a coach. And I think she does coaching. I do coaching. Grab a coach. That changed my life. Like, somebody holding you higher, calling you higher, cheering you on, understanding what you've got, and then also challenging you and calling out your BS. Like, you should have already had that, right? Talk about that. I'm sorry. What? So not letting you sit in the comfortable, pushing you on out. And then the last thing is we have to embrace this. This was so fun. Oh my goodness, Antoinetta.
No, it was amazing. Thank you. With all my technology, right? Things. This was wonderful. I'm so glad we got to do this today. Yeah, I'm excited to share it with all of the people. They need this. They need your content. I'm excited.
I'm excited too. And again, okay, and then real quick, social, where are you on social so they can go follow you there?
Yes. So social, I'm doing a lot less on social right now, but at Courage Curator. And then you can follow a lot more with the brand at Courage Candy CO. So on all of the things, Instagram, Facebook, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. So yeah.
Yep. Okay. Well, Antoinetta, thank you so much for being a guest on the podcast. I hope you'll come back soon. I've enjoyed this conversation. I feel like we're just getting fired up. So
I know, same. You got
stop.
to come on mine next year. We
Yes.
got to make it an annual thing. Like,
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was so great to have you. All right, friends. So thank you so much for joining us on this podcast. Thank you for just being on this journey. Thank you for being so loyal to this podcast and to this YouTube. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to ask, would you share this with somebody? Would you hit, all you have to do is you hold your thumb down on your phone, hold your thumb down on a phone, and then this little thing that pops up, it says copy. You're like, yep, copy. And then I like threesies. So go give it to threesies. Find 3 people, text and say, oh my gosh, you've got to listen to this. Text it to them right then. If you really like this, share it to your your Instagram stories, tag us, and we will absolutely reshare you. And we appreciate you guys being here. All right, friends. See y'all next time. Bye. Girlfriend, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I'm so honored you come back every week and that you share the Fit Soul podcast with your friends and family. Every time you share my podcast on Instagram or Facebook, I do a little happy dance. Make sure you subscribe to the Fit Soul podcast where you'll never miss an episode. You can go to Podcast, Apple, Stitcher, and Spotify and subscribe so you'll never miss an episode release. And just know, I truly love bringing you excellent content and great guests to provide you motivation and faith inspiration to help you walk worthy. And one of the ways you can help me is to go and leave the Fit Soul podcast a review. If you have just a moment, would you please go over and leave a review for the Fit Soul podcast? Thank you again. I love you. And here is your reminder. You are worthy. Until next time. Bye-bye.